Well, I'm going to tell you a little story because that's why we're here tonight. But I want to take you back to 1993. And it was, picture this, a fall day on a brisk afternoon of 93 degrees in sunny South Florida. And that is when I had my first experience panhandling. Now, I want to be clear, I did have a job, so I worked as a phone girl at Pizza Hut, Royal Palm Pizza Hut, actually. I was 16 years old. I was the one who said, "Thanks for calling Royal Palm Pizza Hut. Will this be delivery or carry out?" It was an amazing first job, and I actually loved this job. It was a lot of fun, but it did not pay great. So this is in the 90s, right? Minimum wage was $4.25 an hour. Now it's also Florida, so it's probably still $4.25 an hour, but minimum wage was not great. And when you have a high school job, you work maybe a couple nights a week after school, couple hour-long shifts. So I'd work 2 weeks and my paycheck would be like $55 after taxes. So not much you could do. And at 16, I had needs that needed to be met. And my job was amazing though. I loved Pizza Hut. We had so much fun. We were such a crazy bunch. But the best part of my job is I got to work with my very best friend, Gabi. Now, if you have not had a Gabi in your life, I'm very sad for you because everyone should have a Gabi. Gabi was like this infectious personality. She was someone who made you feel like you could do absolutely anything and there would be no repercussions. And so I just glommed onto her because she had this energy that I didn't have. She had this confidence that just people were just drawn to her, and I was drawn to her, and I fed off of that energy. And Gabi and I, we became so close. Not only did we work together at Pizza Hut, but we also went to school together. I drove her to school every day. I drove her home. I spent the night at her house almost every weekend. Her mom became like my second mom. We would make out with boys together not together, but two different boys next to each other on the beach. We did date the others that did, yeah. It was a close friendship. And we also shared all of our clothes, right? We had similar tastes, we were similar size, we both loved shopping. And that goes to where we spent the most of our time, which was at the mall. The Coral Square Mall in Coral Springs, Florida. This was like home. I walked into that mall and I knew every single store where it was. I knew how far Wet Seal was from Orange Julius. Like I knew that full mall landscape. I tell you, like my love for the mall first started when I was 13 and first started making money babysitting. I will never forget the day that I was able to go in to Contempo Casuals and make my final payment for my I gotta think of the word, right? But my payment plan to buy my first pair of Z Cavaricis. Now, I don't know, I might be aging myself here, but Z Cavaricis were amazing. They were pleated and baggy and then tapered at the ankle, and then they had this label right on the crotch zipper that said Z Cavarici. And so you knew if someone was wearing like imitations or the real thing because of that crotch. So people would look at your crotch and be like, oh yeah, that's real. So that's where my love for the mall started, and it just built from there. I loved clothes, I loved shopping, I wanted to be at the mall all the time. Well, so Gabi and I would go and spend hours and hours at the mall, just doing nothing, trying on clothes, sitting in the food court, flirting with guys. I mean, it was everything. But this one day, that one fall really fucking hot day in South Florida, Gabi and I were deciding we were gonna go to the mall, so I picked her up in my silver gray 86 Honda Accord, and we put on G-Love and Special Sauce in my 8-disc changer that I had in there. We're rocking out, driving to the mall, like this is gonna be a good day. And we both were on a mission. Like we're gonna get some new shirts today. Like that is the goal. But we did not have a lot of money, keep in mind, phone girls at Pizza Hut. And so when we got to the mall, we like counted our money, because like I said, we shared clothes a lot, and we had like $18 between the two of us. But we knew that mall so well that we knew all the best clearance racks. So we go in and we're like, let's go to Contempo Casuals. This is like our favorite store. I've mentioned it twice already in this story. So this store is amazing. It's not there anymore. I'm really sad about it. But we go into Contempo and we go to the clearance rack. And it was a bad day for clearance at Contempo. All they had was various colors of hypercolor t-shirts. I don't know, has anyone ever worn a hypercolor t-shirt?
Yeah.
Okay, if you don't know what it is, hypercolor was this brilliant idea in the 90s where you wear a shirt and the way the material is, it recognizes your body heat, your body temperature, and changes color in those spots. So as a girl, as a teenage girl, usually you'd have like some spots under the boobs that were pink, in the armpits. It was great. So that's what was on sale on the clearance rack. Not a good day for us and our $18. But Contempo had that wall of all like the newest trends. And you know, again, this is the 90s, so this was like velvet and lace and, you know, basically all the clothes that are out right now. But Gabi and I are just like coveting this black velvet shirt, crushed velvet, off the shoulders, long sleeve, really tight crop tops. And we're like, oh my God, we need those shirts. So Gabi runs over, she stands on like her tippy toes, she reaches up the wall, grabs the shirt down. I pull out the tag to look at the price and it was $32.99. Our $18 wasn't gonna cut it. We were super bummed, right? I mean, we knew we couldn't get that shirt, definitely not two of them. And so we just went to all the other stores, we checked out all the clearance racks, and we just had no luck that day. So our mission to find the perfect shirts to go out on a Saturday night was not working out too well. So we went to the food court, we drowned ourselves in Auntie Anne's cinnamon sugar from their pretzels and Orange Julius. Just kind of thought about like, this sucks. I thought we were gonna find those awesome shirts today and it didn't work out. And then all of a sudden Gabi like leaps out of her seat and just goes running across the food court. And I'm like, what is she doing? And so I see her talking to this guy and I don't know who he is. He's not familiar to me. She's like super way across the way. And she runs back and she holds out her hand and she has 6 quarters in her hand. And I'm like, okay, why are you showing me 6 quarters? She's like, oh my God, I went up to that guy and I said, hey, I need bus fare. Do you have any change? And he handed me 6 quarters. And I'm like, okay, but why do you say you need bus fare? I drove you, I can give you a ride home. And she's like, oh my God, you're missing the point. I made it up. I said I needed bus fare. He gave me 6 quarters. And I'm like, okay, so I'm like, oh my God. She's like, yes. We can get enough money to buy our shirts by just asking for bus fare. I'm like, okay, you're insane. First of all, we will get figured out. There's no way people are gonna fall. We're like 2 dumb girls. There's no way that they're gonna think this is real. You're ridiculous. She's like, trust me, watch. She grabs me by the arm. She takes me over. It's always guys, by the way. Sorry, we pretty much went to guys during this. But she takes me up to this guy. He's probably like 30. And she's like, hey, I'm so sorry. Do you have change for the payphone? My mom was supposed to pick us up and she's not here. And he's like, oh my God, yeah. So he like digs into his pocket and just gives her quarters. And I'm like, oh my God, that was so easy. And so she's like, you see? Now it's your turn. I'm like, oh my God, I was so nervous. I was so freaked out. I'm like, okay. So we go, we find these 2 guys, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. It's all right. Like, it's all good. We go up to these 2 guys, and I say, hey, I'm really sorry to ask you this, but my friend's not feeling well, and I really want to get her something to drink, but I just don't have enough to cover it. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Yeah, for sure. Both guys reach into their pockets, each hands us like $1 in quarters. 2 more dollars. Wow. So this went on all day. I am not kidding. She and I went to so many people. It was everything from like, excuse me, ma'am, I need to get a tampon out of the machine in the bathroom, and I don't have a quarter. Do you have a quarter I could borrow? I mean, it was like everything. And as the day went on, we got bolder and bolder and bolder, and we more ridiculous, more brave, asking, coming up with the most ridiculous scenarios for why we needed money. And our purses just kept getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And we were like, this is the best day ever. It was so fun. I felt invincible because Gabi made me feel invincible. So finally it came. It had been like 5 hours of asking for quarters. And we're like, okay, well, let's go to the food court. We're tired. We need a drink. So go to the food court. We're like, well, let's count. Let's count our money. So we pour out our money onto the table in the food court, and we just start stacking these quarters in piles of 4. And we're like, oh my God, like easily I thought maybe we made like 15 bucks. $87. $87, mostly in quarters. We were like, holy shit, we're getting both tops. And so Gabi and I, we gather up our quarters, we're looking around, we're like whispering, we're like, okay, we don't want anybody to see, like we don't want to be found out. Like now it's getting real. We have just committed the biggest scandal in the entire mall ever in history. We're convinced. So we like gather up our quarters really, really quietly. We're like shoving them into our bag. We're looking around. We're like, on to Contempo. We go to Contempo Casuals. The girl's like, oh God, they're back. Like, just pick a hypercolor shirt. You can't afford anything else. But we're like, oh no, bitch. We got it covered. Not only did we get one of those shirts, we got 2. One in black and one in this deep purple. It's like an amethyst color. Would have looked perfect with my black choker with a little peace sign on it that I had. And so we went to the register and we're like, we'll take these. So she brings in the total and they were $32.99 each, right? So she's like, there's no way these kids have got this money. And we pour out on the counter all of our quarters. This poor store clerk at Contempo Casuals, she had to count out every single quarter to make sure that we had, and we did have the $18, to be fair, already. That was not changed. So she didn't have to count that. She didn't have to count out quarters of that. But we bought those shirts. Gabi and I, man, we shoved those shirts in our bags really quick, and we beelined it for the exit so fast, looking over our shoulders, convinced that we were going to be tracked down by mall security, the police, or if anything, some really angry people who saw us asking for change from a bunch of other people. But we made it out. We made it out. We got in my car, and we just sat, we looked around, and we're like, man, did we just do that? Yeah, we just did that. Man, that was intense. So we got our shirts, and I will say after that experience, man, it made me a little rougher around the edges than I had been before. But I decided that I was probably better off just sticking with my job at Pizza Hut and leaving my days of panhandling behind me. But you know one thing I learned though, is that anytime I'm in the mall and someone asks me for change, I may be getting them one step closer to the perfect velvet shirt. That's my story. And I just want to say real quick, this story is for Gabi. She passed away this past year. So this is in honor of Gabi. So thank you, everybody.
For Gabi wearing that velvet shirt. That was so